capture station with a batch loaded. On the top left corner, it shows me the batch screen. That's a set of documents, a tree structure there, which shows me the documents received and their internal structure. Then on the right, I have an image of the first document, and then below I have some results for the first document in a batch. I'm running here a sample of pure classification, which is extracting the document identity and explaining why it classified it this way. So for example, for that document, I see that the document type is father's affidavit born, and it explains why it classified it this way. It found a classification header, father's affidavit, in the top right section. So that's one of the commands coming from classification engine. And then if you look down, it shows the clues used. So first clue is father's affidavit, and the additional clue is who was born. So it's not just an affidavit about the child, it's affidavit already born child, and that's why the exact classification of that document is father's affidavit born. Now, as I mentioned, that's coming from the cascading classification. So it first determined at a high level it's an affidavit, then it determined it's a father's affidavit, and then further it went down and determined it's father's affidavit of a born child. Now, you can also review all of those details in the classification confirmation mode. The classification confirmation mode, it highlights with yellow highlight all those clues automatically on this image, and you can quickly confirm it, or you can switch it to another class. It gives you access to all of your classes, in this case about 400 different classes for that job. And I can confirm it by just simply clicking on it through keyboard or mouse. Here is another document, this father acknowledgement of paternity and waiver of rights, and I classified it by two-liner text in the header. That's another one, request for review of child support. That's mother's acknowledgement, again, very similar document, again, multi-level classification. Acknowledgement of service. Here is administrative subpoena, and that's custody information. That's an affidavit of establishment. So as you can see, that's another one, and it's using a phrase in the document rather than the header to classify it. Affidavit of mailing, notice attempts affidavit. That's another example where there is no header, so it cannot classify it based on the header. But what it did, it found out a phrase inside the document. It says, I certify that on that date and time I served the papers. So based on that unique phrase, it knows that this is affidavit of service, because somebody certifies serving the paper. So a phrase inside the document can be a good clue even when there is no header on the document, and that's another powerful way to classify your document. That's an application for hearing. That's another format of that same application. One more format. So multiple formats is not a challenge. It can treat different documents easily. All right, that's an application for child services support. And if you look down on the classification commands, it says this is actually a first page or a header page. Now, so not only it can classify the document level, it can also determine the identity of your pages. What that means you can turn on your advanced assembly and assemble a document from single pages to multi-page document based on the order of pages and page identities that you expected. So that's the first page. Then here you can see that's an additional command page. Here you can see that's another first page. So it shows you the identities. This is a multi-page case. It's coming up with a second page right there. So this subheader tells us that not only its identity is the IVD services, but it's also telling us that it's relationship between mother and father. So it's a second page of the document for the document assembly, and that's section 4, so it's coming from the third page. So you can do the page level, that's page number 4, based on that clue right down on the bottom. Now, it also can show you the possible alternatives. I'll take this document as an example. So here it shows me that it classified it as a page 3, section 4 of that document. But it also shows me that there is an alternative. It could also use that clue, highlight me that alternative clue, to classify it as request for additional services. But the top clue, the first version, was better because it matched more accurately. Every character matched to the expected clue, and that's why it selected it. So it shows me the winner, it shows me the contender, and explains why the winner was a better choice. So I'll confirm this, and my job as operator is finished here. Now, of course, I was talking a lot as I was going through that. Operators usually just hold their arm on a mouse or on a keyboard and quickly go confirm, change that, confirm. And it takes mere seconds per batch rather than tediously manually sort them. All right. Send out this batch. It asks me for any additional confirmation if any rule discrepancies are found. So I ran automatic rules validation. It auto-confirmed against the database that it's all correct. And now it allows me to do the exporting. So not only it will do the classification, it can also do the cross-checks, cross-validations, and automatically make sure it's correct. From that station point, I'm already done. I've sent out the batch. I'm ready for the next batch. My next step is export. If you look down on export station, it says I received the batch number 1355, and it's doing the exporting already. That export station is unmanned station, fully automatic. I didn't have to kick it. I didn't have to start it. It automatically acknowledged receiving a new batch and is doing the processing. All stations here run in parallel, maybe running in multiple servers and multiple machines, sharing the workload, maximizing the use of your available hardware. Export is finished. The job is fully processed. So it was a typical run of classification with full details, exposure. I'll get back to my presentation, and we'll continue going through the slides. I'll wait a second so the screen refreshes for you. And first, I will talk a little bit about import connectors. I briefly mentioned them, but just some highlights. Automatic imports can work with multiple front-end capture systems. On MFP panel-level integrations, we have integrations with such vendors as Sharp, TSR, and working on many more. We have tight integration with eCopy panel, with WriteFax fax server. We can receive the documents with tight integrations from Codec Capture Pro software. So there might be multiple front-end locations, or there can be such generic things as file import from PDF, XML, or import from FTP and email messages. Of course, all typical formats of images are supported. On back end, after processing, there's a bunch of export connectors, and we are using tight API-level integrations with typical popular systems such as QuickBooks for accounting, or SharePoint, DocuWare, DocuLex, FileBound, Digitech for document management systems. There are more also in the list. Auto export means that you can access them fully automatically, and because it's a tight API connection, it waits for a confirmation from receiving system that the documents, the data, the metadata were successfully received by the system, and only after that it marks as a job done. If the backend system is down or not receiving the data, that batch will be set aside as a postponed batch for export, and it will try the next batch because maybe the different system is up and running. At any point you can repeat the attempt to do the exporting once the backend system is up and running. As I mentioned, on the database side, we support ODBC, OLEDB, with special optimization for SQL, Access, and Oracle. An auto-filing option and customized naming allows you to do a poor man's document management system, so you can generate a folder structure with customized naming for your folders and for your files based on the content of the documents, in case you don't use a full-blown document management system on the back end. Finally, the system comes with an open API. It's included in the price. You don't have to pay anything extra. It comes API open. On the front end, on inside, on the rules and validations, as well on the back end, on export side. And it comes with a set of C# samples. So you can just open up a sample, do any changes you want, compile, and use that as your own customized export script or your own custom-built rule. And those rules and exports would be available in the system just like all the predefined ones. Some benefits of full automation. Well, it's, of course, ability to process structured, unstructured from any customer automatically through your system. A big benefit in this is auto-find module. Learning on the fly means that you don't have to do the setup of every document. Typically, you would do the setup only for your high-volume customers. For your high-volume customers where you see 1,000 documents per day, it makes sense to set up all the classification and capture details ahead of time to gain 100% automation out of the box. But what about all of your rebels, all of your one-offs that you occasionally receive documents from, but you don't typically have high volume? It doesn't make sense to do the setup for them. Turn on AutoFi and let them be learned on the fly. That's a better approach for one-offs. All that reduces the cost of data entry and preparation by 50 to 80%. Some of the customers even get 90% reduction. It all depends how much manual labor is involved today, how many steps you do with your document. Are you doing just classification, or you're doing classification and extraction? Do you do line items extraction, etc.? Of course, it improves the business processes because you can react to any customer's requests faster. There are fewer errors in the system because of all of those automatic validation procedures that the system employs. And it improves customer relations as a bottom line. Now let's have a quick look on ROI side of the thing. So this quick ROI calculator shows a typical operation when there are 6 people in document pre-sorting, preparation, and classification department. So there are 6 people involved in preparation documents in your scanning room. With docAlpha classification, what you can expect to go down to at least 2 of them. So you probably still will have the labor there to open up the envelopes and load the paper. So there will be some labor there still in the manual processing, but the classification, the separation, the pre-sorting, that portion is gone. And because this portion typically is about 2/3 of the time of the prepping labor, that means that you can go easily from 6 people down to 2. Now, with this calculation in mind, if you translate it to hard dollars, a typical full-time employee with benefits per year is about 40 grand, depending on which part of the country you are. And since we are reallocating or reducing 4 of those, it's 40,000 times 4, it's 160,000 that the system brings in directly the very first year of the use. If you take a typical cost of a classification system based on docAlpha, that means that you achieve your return of investment in as few as 3 months based on such a project. So it's a very fast ROI, and in today's economy, it's a big driver behind the sales. Typically, customers love to see anything within 12 months. Within 6 months is a no-brainer. If you can show them 3 or 4 months, it's a great sale. So that's a very useful calculation to bear in mind when you talk to prospective customers. Speaking of some customers, this is a partial list of the customers we have, and we work with different vertical and horizontal applications. Some of our customers originally started with one large task, such as invoices processing, and then gradually involved this automation to other departments, to the claims processing, to their human resources, to their legal department. So this can be entered through the most manual labor intensive area of the organization, but then spread to the rest of the department to increase the ROI even